Parental advisory. This broadcast may contain some explicit content.
Your parents don't get it, and you don't care to explain. You've lost 4 girlfriends over it in the past year. Who are you kidding? You ain't got time to meet new people. It's more than a hobby. It's a passion.
And it's coursing through your veins.
And we're the only ones who understand. This is Gam3r DNA.
Welcome in, everybody. I am Belligerent.
And I'm Truth.
And we would like to welcome you into part 2 of episode 2. In this podcast, we pick up where we left off from episode 2, part 1. And we are going to get started with Truth telling us who her top-ranked captain characters are. Okay, so rank the roams in your opinion.
Okay. And this is my preference based on who I like playing.
Right.
So for me...
Well, no, not... I don't want to necessarily do by who you like. Who do you think are from strongest to weakest in the current meta?
I think Arden is still the strongest. After that, Adagio. I think Catherine is still good. I know she got nerfed, but I think she's still good.
So wait, did you say Arden, Adagio, and then Catherine?
Yes.
Okay, because you kind of tossed Adagio in there and sounded unsure about it, so I didn't know if you were going through names.
I'm organizing it in my head.
So far we got, she thinks Arden is the strongest, Adagio is next, and then Catherine.
Yeah. And then after that, I'd probably say Finn, then Lance. Then Lyra, Fortress, and Flicker. And I think that's everyone, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think you said everyone. Okay, so my ranking of the captains, I hate that term. God, please change that term. Oh, it makes me want to bang my head. I mean, I get it because at least on the pro level, so many of the roamers are considered the captain of the team. And as a roam, it's kind of your job to direct everybody. The jungler and the carry get kind of tunnel vision on their target. And as the roamer, as the captain, it's your job to kind of see everything that's happening in the game and make the calls. So I get the captain reference, but I hate it. I hate it. All right, so now, okay, so I think strength-wise, and this is going to be hard because part of it's going to be influenced by who you like to play, right? Who I'm good with,
which mine clearly is,
right? But I'm also I'm clearly going to take meta in mind or into account, and I'm also going to take into account the ease of use. And to be honest, I'll probably do an article on this on our website, so check it out when it comes out. So right now I think I would have to, I'm looking at him, that's a toss-up. I guess I will agree with you and say Arden is probably the strongest captain in the game right now, especially since they gave him. It's not really it's a buff, but it's not a buff. They just gave him a longer reach. He didn't get. They gave him what he needed
to be.
Right. So I think Arden is probably the strongest roam in the game because I'm going to say what puts him on top for that is ease of use. I think he's one of those roams that almost any player in Vainglory can pick up and use. He's pretty simple to use.
That's true. When people ask me who I recommend them to learn when they start learning how to roam, I always say Arden.
Yeah. The only one I think is easier than Arden is Finn. And that's because all you do with him is walk around and stomp and bash shit. There's no skills in any, except for the pull. I mean, that's kind of a skill, but otherwise you just slam the ground and then you stomp on the ground and you walk around like a big wall some more. So I'm going to go Arden.
Mm-hmm.
I am, if it was me personally, Adagio would be on top. I'm not going to put him second like you did just because I think he's too difficult for most players.
You think?
Yeah, I do. Like when I first started roaming, I couldn't use Adagio to save my life. Because like you said earlier in this podcast, he's kind of squishy. And he also doesn't, I mean, like you have to, so when I play Adagio, I love playing Adagio. But when I play Adagio right now as a captain, at the end of the match, I am exhausted because there is so much to do with Adagio. Heal this person, heal that person, fuck, they're both low. Which one do I heal? Which one is getting attacked? All right, now we're in a fight. Who do I buff? When's the right time to hit my ultimate? If there's a stunner on the team, do I got to hit my ultimate and then get ready to hit my reflex so they can't stun me? Adagio is exhausting to play. I personally, personal list, Adagio is the best roamer. I'm not going to put him on top as far as current meta because I think he's too difficult for people to use.
Okay.
There's no other roamer in the game that takes, in my opinion, that takes as much work as Adagio. The only one that comes close is Lance.
That's what I was gonna say.
Because he has the skill shot as far as the impale, but it's still like nothing he does, like his impale, maybe to a certain extent his shield bash is. And then his role, none of what he does is predicated on what's happening to his teammates, where his teammates are, etc., etc. You just got to kind of play Lance, other than maybe shield bashing an attack away from one of your teammates. None of what makes Lance a great roam is not his skills as far as keeping. Do you know what I'm saying? Everything Adagio does is for his teammates. So you have to keep track of every teammate and where they're at and what's going on. And to me, that's what makes Adagio very difficult and very exhausting to play. As where Lance, you impale when you have a chance. Now, the great Lances out there, one of which I am not, but the great Lances out there know the right time and right place to hit the impale because they can set their teammates up. Stuff like that. But for I would say your average captain player, Lance is, I'm going to impale when I get a chance or a good shot, and I'm going to slam people into walls.
Yep.
So I mean that's really what it is. And then I am not pro. Right, when you start to make the next step up, that slam people into walls also starts to include things like I'm going to slam Koshka away from my teammate when she does her ultimate or her pouncy fun. I'm going to slam Alpha away when she does her, what's the name of that thing? Prime Directive. I'm going to, Ozo is, Lance is the Ozo killer, but only if you're good at doing it. Things like that. So that's when you get that next step up. But for the most part, for your average Lance to be good at Lance, it's impale and then stun them into a wall and let your carries just burst them down while you do that. So while I think his abilities might be a little, it's more of a skill ability because Adagio you just activate and then tap on your target. I think Lance for your average player is easier to play. So anyway, I'm gonna put as far as the meta list concerned, strongest in the meta, I would say Arden. I'm gonna go Lance next.
Really?
Yeah.
He just got a nerf too. didn't he?
He did just get a nerf, but there is not another captain that can protect their teammates and completely lock down a character for a good 5-6 seconds. If you go impale, stun into a wall, shit like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, Lance, I gotta put second as far as the meta.
All right.
I would go Catherine next.
Gotta love that Catherine.
Right. And even with her recent nerfs, and then she got a buff, didn't she? It's like they can't make up their mind what they want to do with her. But I think Catherine, especially, and here's the reason I put Catherine so high. I used to personally hate Catherine. Well,
I did too at one point.
If we go way back in the day, I loved Catherine because absolutely nobody could kill her. You turn on her little bubble, you walk around, and everybody else dies. But they they balanced her. If you're new to Vainglory, they have balanced Catherine out. They also balance Fortress out. Fortress used to be the same way. You just you build armor and shield, and then you walk around. And I literally
miss those days so much.
Nobody could you could take damage for 5 minutes and still be walking around as Fortress. He was the most indestructible character in the game. At least that's the way it felt.
He was so good. Yeah. I miss those days so much.
I
love Fortress so much. He's one of my favorite roamers to play. But
yeah, So Arden, Lance, Catherine, and again, I already told everybody that for me, Adagio is number one on my personal list. But you notice he didn't even make it in my top 3 as far as the meta, and here's the reason why. I think, especially when you're talking about the majority of the characters, okay? I don't know the stats, but I bet if Vainglory gave me access to them or released them to the public, the majority of Vainglory players are probably level 5 or less.
That's fair.
That's kind of stupid, too. It's right in the middle. But I'm going to say, if you took all of the players in Vainglory, probably 75% of them are 5 or less as far as rank goes. That would be my guess. I could be completely wrong. But I'm going to guess most of them are 5 or less. And so when you're at that skill level, captaining,
bullshitting,
or supporting, whatever you want to call it, it's kind of like if you look at a lot of these characters, Finn, Lance, Arden, Catherine, they're all played the same way for the most part. They got different skills, but they're all played kind of the same way. The roam position is one where you can kind of pick any of those characters up and just go.
Yeah.
Adagio, you have to play completely different.
Yeah, I would say. That's fair, I think.
Okay. Flicker, you have to play completely different.
Yeah.
Fortress, you have to play completely different. Lyra, you don't have to play completely different as much as the other ones I just listed. So that's why Adagio for me is not in my top 3 when we're talking about meta. I will go ahead and put him 4th. Because if you don't know how to play Adagio, you need to learn to. If you watch the pro games, the majority of the time, Lyra and or Adagio get banned. Because
healers are a bitch.
When you hit the high ranks, the heal is so important. And I think and I believe that Adagio is far above and beyond Lyra in the captain role because they just destroyed Lyra. If we had this conversation 6 months ago when they released Lyra, she would probably be number 1. Now she's just booty.
I don't think they destroyed her, but I think they took away a lot of her user friendliness.
Right. So, you should, if you're not now, you should really work on your adagio.
Yes, you should.
If
He
you
is
watch,
good right now.
right,
I
if you
think.
if you watch the Vainglory 8 this past weekend, the first week of it, I remember there the analyst talking about TSM, how TSM bans away adagio, but they don't even care about Lyra. Like a lot of teams will ban away. TSM doesn't consider Lyra that big of a threat. And so when we're comparing teams, TSM was the second best team in the world. So they got to know something. So back to my list. I get sidetracked a lot. You did your list.
Yeah, you really
quick.
do. I need to like rein you in more.
Or you need to talk more, not make me the rambler so much.
Sorry.
Put some thought into your list next time.
Jeez.
All right, so we got Arden, Lance, Catherine, Adagio. I would have to go
Don't forget about Finn.
I'm not forgetting about Finn. They broke Finn.
Oh.
Finn, look. So when we're talking Summers or right before they put that final patch out before Worlds when they nerfed Finn. Finn was easily number 1 on the list.
Yeah.
Then they nerfed him. They nerfed they raised the cooldown on his ultimate so it can't be used as much. And now he's not that good.
I think he's still good. I still don't play him very much.
I think he's
playing him,
he's good for beginners because he's so easy to play. But he's not that strong of a roamer because he's so slow. And that used to kind of be the balance in my opinion. He had this obnoxious ass pull that, and I don't know what the numbers are right now, but I know they used to be the cooldown was less than the cooldown on Crucible. It feels like now that it's not, but I think it still might be slightly shorter than Crucible. But if you're not hitting that, the second it's up, their Crucible is going to come back up before you land it.
The cooldown must be very close to what Crucible is right now. I think it might be even a little bit more, but most people build cooldown and then,
Yeah, it's really bad. We shouldn't be talking about this game without knowing all of the facts, but that's just what we do.
Sorry, we're ignorant and apparently unapologetic.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, they change shit all the time, and it just gets exhausting to keep up with. So, but when they killed the cooldown on Forced Accord, Finn's viability as a roam drops significantly. Watch the matchups that just happened this past weekend, or watch Worlds. After Finn was picked almost every match leading into Worlds or banned, and now nobody bans him and nobody picks him. Occasionally you'll see him pull out a Finn pick if he has good synergy with somebody,
right?
But nobody picks him anymore. So yeah, I haven't forgot about Finn. I just don't think he's that good anymore. So Arden,
I think he's solidly mediocre.
It's solidly mediocre, yes.
That's what I think.
I'm gonna go. So Arden, Lance, Catherine, Adagio, and then at this point, I'm gonna kind of put personal preference. Fortress,
Dago,
and so what I'm gonna say about Fortress is I realize a lot of people think he's a very weak roam. What I will tell you, and we don't have time to get into all the whys and why nots, but people just don't play him correctly as a roam. Fortress is very, very strong as a roam. You remember, what was it, probably about a month ago or so, when all I would roam with was Fortress, and we just destroyed people.
It blew my mind.
Yeah, and I would carry the match.
long.
Right.
It had been so long since I had seen like a decent fortress.
It had been so long since Fortress was considered viable. I roamed Fortress. I built him like I would build every other roam except for, putting in like a Storm Crown maybe or an Aftershock. But everything else was all complete utility items. And at the end of the match, I'd be like, 11-0, 8-3. I mean,
a kill stealing machine.
No, kill
better.
Securing. Better than when I was playing Fortress at that time. I wasn't killing or stealing the kills. I was making them.
He was straight up chroming.
Right. Yeah, that's what we call it, by the way. Carry roam, chroming. So add that to your vocab if you're a fan of the show. Start chroming. That does not mean build your fucking roams with, nothing but offensive items. Just be a carry roam. Be good at it.
Time to put your game on pause. It's the Gam3r DNA update.
So this weekend in competitive vainglory, we got to see East Asia get into their first spring season action in Split 1. Our Invincible Armada took the win there, getting them 8 points. GG New Type second, took 6 points. And Detonation Gaming in third place with 4 points. Over in the Europe standings, it was completely flipped on its head. Seeing Fnatic and G2 Esports reaching the finals this weekend, as where last week they had a combined total of 1 point in that competition. So your Europe standings now for the spring season are Cyclone 12, G2 Esports 9, SK Gaming 7, Team Secret 7, Fnatic 6, Denial Esports 3, Rising Lotus 1, and Mouse Sports has yet to get a point. Over in North America, we saw pretty much the same old thing. It was a rematch for the championship with Team Solo Mid versus Gam3r. This was a very compelling match. Xenotech putting himself squarely in the conversation of the best jungler in NA. Not saying he's there yet, but it definitely has to be a conversation now. He did his best to carry Gam3r, but they once again fell short to Team Solo Mid, losing out in that matchup 2-1. Your North America standings are Team Solo Mid in first place with 16 points, Gam3r with 13 points, and then Cloud9 and Hammers tied for third all the way down at 5 points. Finishing up is Immortals with 4, Rogue with 2, and Misfits and Echo Fox have yet to get on the board.
Do you have a passion for video games? How about strong and insightful opinions? Gam3r DNA is looking to add talent to their team. This group of passionate gamers volunteers their time and opinions to provide other gamers with insightful reviews, podcasts, and articles. Check us out on the web at www.gam3rdna.com. That's Gam3rdna.com.
All right, so Arden, Lance. I'm wondering if I can remember this in the right order every time I have to repeat it. Arden, Lance, Catherine Adazio, and Fortress. Then I'll put Lyra. Then I'll put Finn. I'm going to have to put Flicker last.
Because fuck Flicker.
Right.
Fuck that bullshit.
I think in the beginning, and he hasn't even got nerfed, has he? They nerfed something, so. Maybe like his weapon power or something.
I think no, they nerfed the slow of his beam.
Did they nerf the slow a little bit?
I think they did at one point.
Okay, I don't know. Anyway, when Flicker came out, he was like permaban, and now nobody cares because we just know and roams. If you're a roamer, and you're not already doing this, if you're playing against the Flicker, you can eliminate Flicker by just simply putting mines fuck everywhere.
Yep.
And if you haven't noticed, just to clarify, scout traps, not mines, but we call them mines, so get used to it.
Sorry.
They go boom. And that's what mines do. So, okay. So that's my order. And then kind of you got to slide Glaive in there somewhere because he's starting to get play a lot as well on the
Starting
pro
to
level,
come back as a roamer.
on the pro level as a roam. Now the downside to him, and I wrote about off meta picks, and almost all of them were about roaming. So check out the website and read that article. Yeah, I'm not going to be ashamed to plug shit on our own show. And I did talk about this with Glaive. The Glaive has the second or third highest health stat. What I'm looking at right now says he has the second highest, but I think somebody who was released after I made this list might be higher now, but I can't remember who. Anyways, so Glaive has one of the highest health stats. Now, if you try him as a roam, you might find that he's a little squishy, and that's because he doesn't have any of the roam type heroic perks that reinforce him. Like Arden has the Julia's something or other, where he gets a little bit of health back every time you attack him. That's why it's so hard to kill him as like Sky or another roam, because every time you hit him, he just fucking heals. And then Finn gets bonus armor or shield from every armor or shield thing. So there are, Catherine has her stacks from Merciless Pursuit. There are roamers out there that get like these bonus health items, and Glaive doesn't have any of that, so that's why he's going to feel squishier than a lot of the other roams. So, but he does have one of the most readily available and, in my opinion, the most difficult stun
to block. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, if you get a good Glaive, now if you get one that doesn't plan their afterburn and then he has to come running at you with this freaking axe, that's easy to reflex block. But if you have a Glaive that knows how to land the afterburn, it's almost impossible to block on time.
It's really hard. We've been practicing. I'm shit at it. He's slightly less shit at it, but it's hard.
So you got to throw Glaive in there somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where yet. He's not the worst, but he's not the best, but he's in there. And it's very matchup specific. Yes. So those are our list. Yours was, do you even remember anymore?
I said Arden, Adagio, Catherine, Finn, Lance.
So she doesn't remember. So
Fortress,
at this point,
Lyra,
hit the rewind button, go back earlier in our podcast and find out.
Let me know if I got it
right. And mine was Arden, Lance, Catherine, Adagio. Who did I say after Adagio? Fortress, Lyra, Finn, Flicker. So those are mine. So that's kind of our ranking of the current roamers / captainers.
I hate that. That sounds so bad.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about items. Situational items, I think, is the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. And some of them are kind of self-explanatory, and I don't want to spend too much time on them.
Okay.
So those we know, go ahead and spit them out since you're the situational queen.
Atlas for attack speed. Crucible for blocking shit. Contraption. Storm Crown. And then we get to more situational stuff, or I think it's really more situational, which would be Shiver Steel, Echo, Poison Shiv, stuff like that.
Let's go. Let's take kind of what you listed there first. Atlas is probably easily the most situational item as far as a roam. Now, when I roam, I don't buy like armor or shield a lot. Because I load up on the utility items, and those have so much extra health bonuses that I just become a tank anyway. So when I roam, I don't pay attention a lot to the armor or the the shield, but I will build Atlas for certain characters. So just kind of a quick rundown. And again, it kind of depends on the build they have and how the match is going. Okay. So you're looking at probably Blackfeather and Vox, depending on the Blackfeather build.
Yes. I would put Blackfeather way further down on that list. I would start that list with like Saw.
I'm just looking at a list of names.
Oh, okay.
And they just happen to be at the top. I have them sorted by position at the moment. So, so Blackfeather, Vox, Ringo, Saw,
Brona.
probably not Gwen, but it depends on what they're building. Excuse me.
You know, I have built Atlases into Gwens, but I wouldn't prioritize it for a Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, unless, and we'll see it sometimes, and if the Gwen build is just ridiculous, like they have a tornado trigger on Gwen.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody builds tornado trigger, Atlas.
Yeah.
Breaking
Always.
Point is not as fast as tornado trigger, but that can be, that's going to be your other one. But characters that typically go weapon speed or have some type, like Ringo has an ability that gives him attack speed. Saw has a heroic perk that gives him attack speed. Kroll.
Oh, right. Kroll. How can I forget?
Now, what I will say with Kroll is you have to pay attention to the build.
This is
now, what's meta right now with Kroll is a Sorrow Blade and then tank.
Yeah. But in the past, building a lot of attacks.
Well, and even now, less experienced Kroll players or lower tier Kroll players will go all out on the attack speed. You hit them with the Atlas, it's over.
Yeah.
So he can't keep his stacks up. He can't get his regen. It's over. Rona, you keep saying Rona. I'm a little more. I mean, Rona, yes, but here's the catch with Rona. You can't Atlas her ultimate attack speed.
Yeah.
And that's what's most dangerous about Rona is when she jumps in and she starts spinning on everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So just keep that in mind if you're doing with Atlas, with Rona. You got to hit her when she's not ulting or it's not going to do anything.
This is true.
And Glaive, although cooldown Glaive is the current meta, there are still a lot of players that'll go weapon power Glaive with Tornado and Tyrants or something like that. So that's generally who you're going to get your Atlases for. Not all, and it also depends on who you're playing. Like if I'm playing Adagio and we're up against a Saw, a lot of times I'll have, in my situation, I'll have Anya pick up an Atlas because she's probably playing either Koshka or Alpha, and she's going to get a lot closer to him than I ever will. So there's no point in me picking up an Atlas against a Saw.
Usually just going to pop out.
Right, if I'm playing somebody like Adagio who I can't get close to him, he'll burn me down. Like Fortress can Atlas anybody. Flicker can Atlas anybody, and they don't even know it's happening.
That's true. That is the funniest.
Arden, Catherine, Lyra, Glaive, Lance, Finn, but not Adagio. So now
I like to say Atlas is good on gap closing heroes.
Right.
That's what I think.
So that's how it goes with Atlas.
Can't get enough? Check us out on the web at www.gamerdna.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/GAM3RDNA. And follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/GAM3RDNA.
So Contraption, I think Contraption is only mandatory if you're going up against like a Flicker, a Taka, or a Kesha.
Yeah. Otherwise, you don't really need to focus on it unless you really want
and
cool down or you really like mines.
Well,
Someone
yeah.
does.
The contrapt. By the way, she really likes mines.
I really like mine.
She once maxed out the memory of the game.
Hopefully,
during a
at some
private
point,
match.
our viewers will get to see the beauty of some of my some of my matches, some of my legitimate and troll matches.
Right. So, again, like a lot of times, I won't put emphasis on contraption just because of my play style, unless there's a stealth character. But contraption is really good because it gives you a shit ton of cooldown. It gives you energy, stuff like that. So it is a good item regardless. What other? Oh, Crucible. Now,
Crucible.
I've seen a lot of players who will build, and I think I have to adjust that, but I think in my Rome guide that I have on Vainglorifier, I said Crucible was like a musket all the time. And I've since changed that. It depends on the matchup you have.
I think most of the time you're gonna need one.
No,
Almost
that's not true.
No. There's almost always something that you need to block, I feel.
No, let me see. I'm trying to put one together real quick. Okay, so Jungle Alpha, Lane Baron, Rome, Fortress. There's nothing to. There's nothing to.
You wouldn't need a Crucible for that, unless you want to try and Crucible the Baron ult.
Right. Well, and then all you're doing is giving them reinforced health, which at that point just tell them to buy Slumbering Husk. So there's, but there are other times like Glaive, Ozo, Gwen, Ringo, dependent, especially if it's a crystal Ringo, Samuel's ultimate. But, to be honest, unless the Samuel is really good at hitting it or my teammates really suck at dodging it, I don't, because Samuel's ultimate might be the second or third easiest thing to dodge.
I think it's one of the things that I'm able to most consistently block.
So, I mean,
I'd say it's one of the most things I'm consistently able to just walk out of.
Right. I think Adagios is the only other easiest one. Things like that. So there's a lot of, like, if you're playing Rhyme, he doesn't really have anything to Crucible. I mean, some people.
I guess you could Crucible his ult.
Well, you could
if
Crucible
you're in the center
almost
of it,
anything. But
it does stun you if you're standing at the center of his ult.
Right, it does.
But
you
don't have to.
It's not one of those that I put
here.
emphasis
Our
on.
conversation about roaming in vainglory, or captaining, as you might call it, even though I hate that term, was a great one. We had a blast. So much, in fact, that this conversation lasted about twice as long as our typical podcast. So we split it into two parts. If you want to hear Truth and I's ranking about the captains
knowing all
that
the
are available in the game
and
some other awesome roaming conversation, then check out episode 2, part 2, in a different podcast release coming soon. Thanks for listening, and keep on gaming.
One item that I think is really overlooked because it's not in the utility section or the defense section that I have learned is very situational,
useful.
But it's extremely useful is Poison Shiv.
We have had so much success with building Poison Shiv on roamers for certain comps. It's ridiculous.
Right, because, and I'm sure a lot of listeners had the same thought that I did when Poison Shiv came out. That's great. It gives me attack speed. It causes mortal wound. But they have since buffed it. When it first came out, it only had 25 weapon damage. Now it has 35 weapon damage. That's shit. And so in order to get the mortal wound or the lifesteal, there's better items. Like you can buy a Serpent's Mask and get 85 life or 85 weapon and the same lifesteal. plus the lifesteal passive. I don't remember if Poison Shiv has that passive or not. I don't think it does. So there's a better lifesteal in the game. There's a better, weapon damage in the game. It's just the mortal wound that it does, but it's not worth it for a carry to pick up because they're losing so much damage.
And if I see a carry build a Poison Shiv as their first item, I'm like groaning and crying internally.
So what I have started doing is when we face characters, and let me give you a list real quick. Black Feather,
Rhyme,
Kroll, Rhyme, Ozo, and Rona. All of these characters that have built-in lifesteal or regen or fortified health.
Mm-hmm.
As a roamer, I will pick up Poison Shiv, and then I can put Mortal Wound on those characters. So when my teammates are engaged with them, they're not getting as much of that lifesteal, of that fortification, or anything else. And it has been extremely successful.
It's been so successful. I don't understand why I'm not seeing more people doing it. It is so crazy good.
And I think part of it is because everybody's just so programmed that when you're, in order to be a good roam, you can never build an offensive item. And the way that in my opinion, the way they built Poison Shiv, it's not an offensive item. It's a utility. Mm-hmm. It causes mortal wound. It's bullshit for everything else. So other times to use it is if the opposing team has a Lyra or an Adagio, because it's going to hurt that heal too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my, I guess, pro tip that, as far as I know, I kind of came up with in the captain position. So I'm taking kudos for that. I haven't seen anybody else do it.
Have we seen any pros do it?
I have not. No, I have not.
I don't think I have either.
And I could just imagine the analyst right now. And you know what? Maybe at the Vainglorious tier level, it doesn't work. I don't fucking know.
Maybe.
But I think it's genius. I think it works. The stats support it. And
where we are right now.
Right.
It works pretty damn good.
The stats do not support a carry building Poison Shiv. Put it on your roam. That way your carry can build the big hitting items. But put Poison Shiv on your roamer.
And we usually build it fairly early as well.
Yeah, I will usually go, like if I see there's a Black Feather or a Kroll or any of the ones that I just named you, I will go Fountain, War Treads, Poison Shiv.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works.
I mean, it's really that simple.
Yeah.
And then it because especially if you think all of those that we just listed, they're only as good as their sustain.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't, like Rhyme, what does everybody say about Rhyme? You can't pick Rhyme into a ranged hero. Why? Because, then he can't fortify. Well, if you're hitting him with mortal wounds, he can't fortify, and it's so much easier to kill him. So try it. At least try it.
Try it.
Yeah.
Dare you.
There you go. So for those, 12 or 15 of you that are going to listen to this podcast episode, you just got the best tip ever. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But try Poison Shiv on your roam if you're a roamer.
Yep.
And it'll be golden.
Hey everybody, Belligerent here. Just adding a quick after the conversation note to this podcast. I was speaking a little inaccurately. The Mortal Wound will not help you with Rhyme's fortification. However, most of the time Rhyme also includes an Eve of Harvest to give himself lifesteal, which helps his sustain. So I believe that it's still a good item against a Rhyme unless he's, for whatever reason, not building Eve of Harvest. So keep on gaming and back to the show.
I feel like we could turn this into like a part 2, and maybe we'll have to revisit roaming part 2.
We might have to. I didn't think we were going to take this long.
Yeah, this went really long, but it's been really fun, and we'll do this for the other positions and lots of other things. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I hope this one was good for you, and who knows, maybe there will be a roam part 2. Go on to our website, check out my article where I make some suggestions about some off-meta captain characters that I've been experimenting with. I think you'll have fun with it, and you'll probably look at me like I am a three-headed idiot, but but give it a shot. What do you want to say, sweetie?
Send us your off-meta roam picks, and send us your roam tips, and send us if you decide to try Poison Shiv in a match. Send us those results. I want to see them.
Right, absolutely. So you can contact us either by sending an email to info@gamerdna.com. Again, our intro and our outro spells gamer for you if you ain't figured out what it is yet. I'm not going to do it every time. Or you can just go to our website, gamerdna.com, and go to the contact us page, fill out the form, send us a message, and we will, if we get some feedback, we will more than likely read them on air, depending on what they are. If you send us stupid shit, I'm not going to read it.
I might read it.
But send it to us if it's good, if it's relevant. We will call you out. We will give you shout outs. We will answer questions if you ask them, whatever you want. So get in contact with us. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. All of the shit the bumpers are going to give you. So everybody have a good night. Thanks for listening to episode 2.
I
almost made it without fucking up, but we fucked up.
God damn it.
I'm
You're
belligerent
fired.
and she
And
is
I'm Truth. God damn you.
I'm belligerent, she's Truth. This was Gamer DNA. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Game over.
Would you like to continue?
Check us out on the web at www.gamerdna.com. That's GAM3RDNA.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/GAM3RDNA. And follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/GAM3RDNA. It's more than a hobby. It's a passion.
It's a passion.
This is Gamer DNA.